Hello and good evening, Jai Hind, to all our viewers. I welcome you to 169th episode of Strive Defense Dialogue. Today, we are going to, in our series on Bangladesh, fifth of episode we are going to cover, where whatever has happened since fifth, we will be taking note of it. And to discuss all this, there will be I'll introduce our speaker a little later. Let me give a bit of background. Uh, if you see, fifth was a very cataclysmic day when suddenly on that day, uh, the entire world was taken by surprise when Sheikh Hasina suddenly, in a very hurried move, kind of a escape from Bangladesh. There was a bit of background, and it started actually long back in 2021 itself. However, most important was the 21st July, when the decision of Supreme Court came on reservation issue, and they accepted government's recommendation, and the entire reservation issue was resolved, and only 7% was given. The it looked like as if things will improve, but it didn't happen. Next day, the students came out with a new charter of demand, 9-point demand, in which restoration of democracy, withdrawal of cases, accountability of those who are uh, responsible for the kind of a violence which Bangladesh has seen. Now, all this thing was when it was going on. Suddenly, on 24th July, Sheikh Hasina used a word that the students have been infiltrated with Razakars. And Razakar is almost an abuse to Bangladeshis, because Razakars was those who had collaborated with Pakistan army. Now, the student movement got flared up. It was between Islamic Chhat Shiver of IS, Jamaat Islami, and Chhat League of Awami League. They were with police, and on one day, that is on fourth night, in fact, on fourth, 90 people died. And some very, very brutal murders. Some people were 13 policemen and they were hung upside down and all those things. So on fourth, students changed their demand from 9-point to a single point. That is that they were saying that now Sheikh Hasina has to resign. Fifth morning, when they started moving towards, army refused to fire on them. And around 3 o'clock, just around 1 o'clock or something, Sheikh Hasina was told that she is given 45 minutes to scoot. She was not even asked to announce her as a resignation speech or something. Now, with all this, what happened that police also went on strike. Police went on strike, and even students forced judges to resign. And there was a total chaos. In that chaos, the worst victim were the minorities and league students. In 52 districts, about 205 incidents took place of violence against minorities. With this kind of a thing, and that clash started becoming more and more prominent. Now, what is the scenario? Scenario which has emerged is that interim government was formed on 8th, headed by Muhammad Yunus, Professor Muhammad Yunus, who arguably has got, if you see his growth, a lot of time he has spent in US. He got in 2009, when democratic government was there, presidential award, and 2010 he got congressional award, which is the highest award, and 2006 in any case he had got Nobel, and he had financial irregularity charges against him, straight away dropped. BNP, all charges dropped, they were freed. Jamaat-e-Islami's ban was removed. So that was the situation, and violence against minorities continued. India was good old system that India again was there were floods and India was blamed for the releasing floods, which has emerged that we had given adequate warning. ISIS in eastern part is present. Muhammad Saifullah, who was a Hindu earlier, is there since 2016. That Pakistan's footprint appeared to be there because the kind of happiness it generated in Pakistan was reflective of that. This being all these things now they raise a question: what will be the status of those projects which India had 31 projects, including Mongla Port and others, railway line to Akhara getting connected from Tripura side, and they were all under question. Also, it is not that only Bangladeshis have got the handle. Even India has got handle. Power supplies from Indian BBIN. Next year, that Indo-Gangetic treaty is coming for review. 54 rivers are there on which water goes from India to Bangladesh. The main export textile, 25% is by India. So the entire thread and other support systems are being provided, and even the finances are provided by India. Now, with all this thing, there are some questions come to our mind. And these questions are, what has been the reason for continued violent transition of government in Bangladesh? It will be a news to our viewers that 29 coup had taken place, and most of them violent, and the incumbent was killed, be it Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Ziaur Rahman, Brigadier Khalid Musharraf, they all were killed. So that is Hussain Rizad, how he survived is a $1 million question. This second is, why are elections in Bangladesh are always considered not fair? One can say that even the January 24 elections, BNP was not asked not to participate in it, but it's only that they decided not to participate. Only JEI was banned. 2011, that constitutional amendment took place whereby interim government is not supposed to be there for elections. Third question is there a rise of religious right wing in Bangladesh? Which on the face of it looks like, and it will have implication. Even Zakir Naik's Peace TV supposed to be now getting a kind of a support from Bangladesh. And if it is so, that what would be the implications for India, especially Northeast? Next question, has the role of Indian media has been helpful to, say, ameliorate the situation due to upheaval in Bangladesh, or it has deteriorated the situation? Next question is, has there been international interference, especially that of US or China? And if so, what are their interests? And finally, what should be the way ahead? When I was thinking all these questions, I realized there couldn't be a better person to answer all these questions than our own General Dushyant Singh. I welcome Dushyant once again
Thank
to
you.
your
Thank you,
own
sir.
sapling planted, and I hope we look forward to some very useful discussion from your side. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, and very warm greetings to all our audience. And so we will make this discussion slightly Hindi English mix because we wanted to reach. हम चाहते हैं कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को पता चले कि सही बात क्या है बांग्लादेश में और बांग्लादेश का असर हमारे ऊपर क्या होगा। ये दोनों तीनों चीज़ें जो हैं ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट हैं क्योंकि अगर मैं एक शब्द में बोलूँ, इफ आई हैव टू define the situation or explain this current neighborhood situation relationship of India with our neighbors, I would say it is at its lowest. अगर आप if you look at it from all directions, you start off with Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan. To some extent, we are trying to cope up with Afghanistan and Pakistan and China. We will not discuss because they are technically,
Incorrigible.
yeah, they are. I mean, they them we accept them as our adversary. So we will not discuss Pakistan and China. In any case, even Pakistan, our relations have been at a crossroads for last, I think, almost 8 9 years now since the Pathankot attack. Sorry, rather Balakot attack. Our relations have been at daggers drawn with each other, with minor patch-ups in between. But overall, you can say that our neighborhood situation is really, really, really at its lowest. While we will not discuss why it has happened because of the other, as far as the other countries are concerned, but definitely if you look at Bangladesh, there are three things which stand out very clearly. First and the foremost is that throughout its history, right from the time Bangladesh was created, it is born out of a war. First of all, it was born out of a war जो कि इंटरनल भी था और एक्सटर्नल भी था. यानी कि एक लड़ाई ऐसी थी जो अंदर से भी लड़ी जा रही थी, मुक्ति वाहिनी बोलिए, मुक्ति योद्धा बोलिए, जो आप बोलना चाहते हैं उनको बोल सकते हैं. एंड देन देयर वाज एन एक्सटर्नल वॉर बिटवीन इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान. द बैटल ग्राउंड वाज द ईस्ट पाकिस्तान. सो इट केम आउट ऑफ war. So element of violence was in its birth. I think nobody has pinpointed this particular aspect in the formulation of Bangladesh policy. What happened next? Every successive government which changed in Bangladesh was again born out of violence, whether it was a coup or whether it was a forced takeover by the army, whether it was a election which was not considered fair with marred with violence. Every changeover of government in Bangladesh has been violent, except for the last 2 to 3 last three odd elections where things were relatively quiet, and because it was the same government which was winning, that is okay, same party which was winning. But the last one, the one in which she won the fourth term, Sheikh Hasina, was again marred in violence, and the changeover took place again in violence because as you had described, जैसा कि सर आपने describe किया था, पहले दिन से ही casualties हो रही थी. In fact, 326 people were killed in that छात्र violence, जो इस्लामिक छात्र संगठन की जो बात कर रहे हैं, उसके 326 लोगों की मौत हुई थी. 326 people were killed, and subsequently after the protest, even more number of people were killed, which included minority, specifically targeting the Hindus and the other minorities which are there in that particular region. But was it entirely that all the people were against the minority? Is a question which we have to ask ourselves. There were also incidents where the minorities were protected by their neighborhood. They came in front of these violent people because if you remember, after the fall of Sheikh Hasina, after Sheikh Hasina left, the students had called off their protest. But suddenly the protest again started, and they were not definitely what is now coming out as per intelligence is they were not definitely students who went on the rampage. They were basically Jamaat wing, Jamaat Islami people, including their student wing, etc., which actually went on the rampage. So fault actually lies with the right wingers. So therefore, I think right in that particular conundrum, what happened was people started taking sides very quickly, and the emotions got flared up, and therefore more number of casualties took place. And I'm sorry that a lot of minorities also suffered because of this, but the numbers may not be what has been reflected. You would also like to focus that like to consider that during that violence even the Muslims were killed. Students, some of the students were also attacked, but that equitable,
Awami
I
League.
think, yes, equitable projection of the entire situation was not done even by our media. That is where I feel that we went slightly wrong. We should have given a balanced view of the violence rather than focusing only on. Of course, we had the minorities being addressed specifically, but who are addressing is what is important. Now, the next big thing which we must consider as to why this happened in Bangladesh is, now this is very important. ये बहुत जरूरी है, एंड आई थिंक सभी को समझना चाहिए कि बांग्लादेश की बर्थ के बाद उनको उनको मौका ही नहीं मिला अपने आप को एक देश की तरह एस्टेब्लिश करने का। मुजीबुर रहमान के तुरंत एक कू में उनके पूरी परिवार को इनफैक्ट खत्म कर दिया गया। तो जो उनके फादर ऑफ द नेशन का खिताब या उनका जो इन्फ्लुएंस उस पूरे देश पे होना चाहिए था, वो नहीं हो सका। एज अ रिजल्ट जो रेडिकल एलिमेंट्स थे उनको दोबारा जगह मिल गई, और रेडिकल एलिमेंट्स में आप जानते हैं कि जमाते इस्लामी जो थी आखिरी वक्त तक पाकिस्तानी आर्मी के साथ लड़ाई कर रही थी, और उसको एक स्पेस मिल गई थ्रू रेडिकल एलिमेंट्स। जो बांग्लादेश आर्मी में उस समय काफी ऑफिसर्स ऐसे थे जो कि पाकिस्तानी आर्मी के ऑफिसर्स कहलाए जाते थे, उन लोगों को जगह मिल गई, और उसकी वजह से आपने
including
देखा फिर
Ziaur Rahman,
हाँ जी,
including Ziaur Rahman, including Ziaur
इंक्लूडिंग
Rahman.
इंक्लूडिंग जियाउर रहमान। तो उसकी वजह से एक पैरेलल स्पेस क्रिएट हो गई बांग्लादेश में। तो लोग ये कहते हैं, हम लोगों ने एक इसके ऊपर एक डिस्कशन भी किया था जहां पर हमें बांग्लादेश के एक पुराने एम्बेसडर और फिर एक बांग्लादेश के रिनोन्ड सिक्योरिटी एक्सपर्ट और हमारे देश के कुछ एक बांग्लादेश वॉचर्स हैं, इन लोगों के साथ हमने एक डिस्कशन किया था, इंडोर डिस्कशन। तो उसमें एक चीज उभर के आई कि none of the political parties worked for national unity. अगर बेगम खालिदा जिया की गवर्नमेंट थी तो वो खाली बीएनपी को ही प्रोजेक्ट कर रही थी, और वो ये सोचती थी कि बीएनपी बांग्लादेश और बांग्लादेश बीएनपी है। वही बात अगर हम अवामी लीग को लगाएं तो वो भी वही सोचती थी कि वर्क फॉर अवामी लीग एंड नॉट फॉर बांग्लादेश। आई थिंक ये जो बहुत बड़ा रेवलेशन मुझे मिला उस पूरे डिस्कशन से, और ये वहां के लोगों ने कहा है, जो कि आप मानोगे नहीं, कई लोगों ने बोला है कि आप हमारा नाम बताइएगा मत, नहीं तो हम भी टारगेट हो जाएंगे। और जबकि वो बहुत ही फेयर थे
एक
अपनी जजमेंट।
एक 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 इसमें मैं नाहिद इस्लाम का एक स्टेटमेंट देना चाहता हूँ कि जो उसने बोला कि इंडिया डिड अ मिस्टेक बाय having friendship only with Sheikh Hasina, not with Bangladesh. The
ओके,
statement. I
ये
think what you
ये
are is corroborate. Yes.
ये पॉइंट भी आया। उन्होंने ये भी बोला कि भारत ने शायद सारे अंडे एक ही टोकरी में डाल दिया ने, ऑल द एग्स इन वन बास्केट को मैंने एक ट्रांसलेशन किया हिंदी में कि दे वी पुट ऑल द एग्स इन वन बास्केट। उसके लिए मेरा काउंटर था, उसके ऊपर मेरा एक काउंटर था कि आपको हर चीज को भारत को नेगेटिवली नहीं देखनी चाहिए कि भारत ऐसा क्यों कर रहा है। देखिए, राइट फ्रॉम इंडिपेंडेंस भारत की एक बहुत ही स्टैंडर्ड पॉलिसी रही है, नेगोशिएट और इंटरैक्ट विद द गवर्नमेंट इन पावर। आप किसी भी देश को देख लीजिए, किसी भी देश के साथ जो हमारा रिलेशनशिप रहा है, हमने रेयरली किसी के अपोजिट या काउंटर के साथ एंगेज किया है। अब देखिए अफगानिस्तान में अब हम तालिबान के साथ इंटरेक्ट कर रहे हैं, हमने रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं किया उनको, बट वी आर सेइंग दैट दे आर द गवर्नमेंट नाउ टुडे, सो इफ वी हैव टू पुश फॉरवर्ड आवर रिलेशनशिप विद अफगानिस्तान, वी विल इंटरेक्ट विद अफगानिस्तान। सिमिलरली अगर मालदीव्स को देखिए, जब तक म्यूजी पावर में नहीं थे तो हम उनके साथ इंटरेक्ट नहीं कर रहे थे, लेकिन जब म्यूजी पावर में आए तो अब हमने उनके साथ इंटरेक्ट करना शुरू किया। और जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, हमारे पास काफी लिवरेज है हर देश को अपने साथ मिला करके रखने की। मेरे ख्याल से बांग्लादेश के साथ भी वही होगा, कुछ समय लगेगा, इट विल टेक सम टाइम फॉर अस टू गेट द सिचुएशन अंडर कंट्रोल। सो दिस वाज माय काउंटर टू दैट, वन ऑफ द Bangladeshi experts said this, that
Geography.
yeah, geography, and there are other factors also, sir. The Bangladeshi expert said that you have put all eggs in one basket, and that is why you are unable to deal with the current situation. There are challenges, I agree, but as a policy, constant policy, irrespective of the government in power in India, we always negotiate with the government in power of the other country. I think nobody can falter India on that. You tell me one incident where we have gone the other way around. Even with Myanmar, people have been telling on and on that please engage with Arakan army, please engage with Karen army, please engage with the other groups so that you have some options available. But we have maintained that we will operate or we will engage with the government in power. The legitimately recognized government power, whether it is legitimately or it has come with a coup, that is not been our major consideration. It has been our consideration. We express our views against it. लेकिन हम उसको we don't make it a point not to engage with a government in power. So
I think
therefore,
very valid point you are bringing out, because government of the Indian government, despite very, very irresponsible pressure by media of different kind, they have maintained this kind of a thing with every country, which is a very,
absolutely,
very good thing. I mean,
absolutely, and
I
that speaks of the maturity of a nation.
nation.
Why we are respected today for whatever we are is because the way we follow or the way we conduct our foreign policy. It may not be suiting certain quarters, it may not be suiting certain countries, but we have been constant in our approach. And I think Prime Minister Modi is also doing a fantastic job. The fact that he went to Ukraine, again it has come under criticism. Why did we go to Ukraine? Because we have to engage with the government out there. So if it is Zelensky, so be it. If Zelensky turns around and starts backstabbing Modi after he has left, I think it speaks bad of Zelensky.
Zelensky.
He should have been man enough to tell Modi on his face. So, in my view, we have to look at the situation as a half full and not as half empty. The next big reason, the big reason why all these uh, revolution, the protests have happened in Bangladesh is corruption in Bangladesh society is far beyond even in any country in the world today. Sir, you will be surprised that in the parliament of Bangladesh, 90% of the parliamentarians are big businessmen. Only 10% people are the commons, who have risen from the common background. So they are controlling the entire economy. They are keeping the
And even
economy under control.
army is suffering from the same malaise. आर्मी का भी तो वही
Absolutely,
हाल है. वो
absolutely. So
पाकिस्तान
what?
की legacy वहां पे भी आ गई फौजी फाउंडेशन वाली.
Bilkul. So what has happened is that these factors have led common public to not have faith. Now, and the same thing happened 1 week after the new government has formed. You find that there has been a counter protest starting by Ansar, and you know who's Ansar? Ansar are a paramilitary force which came in
Paramilitary force.
large number. They surrounded the secretariat and were demanding reforms. Just for the benefit of the viewers, I would like to tell them that Ansar is a paramilitary force of Bangladesh. It is 6 million strong. So it's not a mean force. It's a force drawn from the public. It has to go on a forced leave after 6 months. A rough comparison with India would be home guards, something like that. They are demanding improvement in working conditions. Their pay, etc., is very ad hoc. So they are demanding from the government. In fact, their minister of state, as you call it, as minister of home minister equivalent of Bangladesh, Chaudhary, he tried to negotiate with them, but nothing happened. Finally, the students again came back on the streets and they tried to remove the Ansars from the secretariat. Reason is they felt that the Ansar is now being encouraged by the right wing or autocratic people in Bangladesh who want to regain power. So such are the undercurrents flowing in this particular country, that it is very, very volatile, sitting on a time bomb constantly. So
In this, let me just give three small stats, interesting stats.
hmm,
Their taka has gone down by 22% in last 1 year. Their foreign exchange reserve has gone by 44%. मतलब उनकी
बिल्कुल,
हालत यह है कि एक दिन का भी फॉरेन एक्सचेंज बच नहीं रहा है. That 300 million unemployed youth. तो ये चीजें मतलब बहुत ही एक्सप्लोसिव सिचुएशन.
मैंने बताया ना सर दैट 90% of their MPs are businessmen. They are looking to just fill their own coffers. So the common public is suffering. That is one issue. The second big thing is low confidence in the election machinery of Bangladesh. If you look at India and if you look at Bangladesh or Pakistan for that matter, in India, our election commission is like a steadfast rock. Barring minor criticism, which opposition by virtue has to do some criticism, उसको करना है, criticize तो वो करती है, लेकिन by and large, across the board, across the country, the election commission of India is respected. The experts who were talking from Bangladesh, and they were big names. I don't want to name them, otherwise they will be targeted there, and they are not. So while I think Jan Chaturvedi's video has gone, so I'll continue with my discourse. What I'm trying to say is that the Bangladesh electioneering system is very I would say it's not trustworthy both by people internally and externally. Also, there are a lot of doubts. They had a concept of having an interim government for conduct of elections. That has been taken off. Now, why that has been taken off? There was an amendment made by Sheikh Hasina's government just before the current elections, which took place for the parliament, and they said that interim government is not required. The interim role of interim government was to conduct free and fair election. That entire mechanism was disbanded by Sheikh Hasina. If you realize, Pakistan, despite being a military run despite being a military run country, created an interim government to give a facade that at least they were trying to do a free and fair election. In the case of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina abrogated that act which said that an interim government has to be has to be
2011.
created.
2011 itself.
Yeah. So now that kind of an action again built in lack of trust in the election system of Bangladesh. This is another reason why the students were getting agitated. One thing which you all must understand, that the people in that region, people in Bengal and including Bangladesh, they are very vociferous as if it comes to their rights, freedom of expression, right to say what they want to see, right to equality, right to security of health, food, etc. So therefore, the students.
Bangladesh came out of this respect for their own language 1954 onwards.
Absolutely. So it was in their culture to go for such protests, and they went in. Again, I wish to put one more point here, that it was possibly the first time that army took a very sensible step as far as Bangladesh is concerned. It did not indulge in further violence. Whatever it had done, it realized that okay, I don't think we can really stop this crowd from now coming towards the parliament, towards the secretariat, towards the PM's house, etc. So therefore, they gave this ultimatum to the government of the day, that Ms. Hasina, please leave the country, otherwise the country will go into a state of chaos and confusion. So while army role cannot be absolutely said that it was a absolutely correct role which they played during these elections, I think, during this protest, but I think at the right time they took a decision that uh, the current government needs to go, and you will realize that no government in a country goes off unless the army
Besides,
lifts its support. So therefore, one thing you should be very clear, and that is what we have been saying in Myanmar also, that Myanmar will not fall. Its area may get under control of certain rebels, etc. But till the time the army is supporting, come what may, they will regroup because they have a lot of resource. They can regroup, they can build their strength quickly, and then take on the rebel group. So similar is the situation in Bangladesh, and therefore,
Here, here I have a small question, Dushan.
only, sir.
Is it army's response was monolithic, or it was because the junior leadership in army, they were not in sync with the senior leadership? Senior leadership probably may have been wanting. Is it something of that kind, or it is the army as a whole took one position that we must support people's movement?
So the inside, what information which is now filtering out from Bangladesh is because you see the people who are in Bangladesh are very very I would say scared and apprehensive of coming out in the open and talking about things. But whatever is filtering out from Bangladesh, what we realize is that there were differences within the army. But what has
I
happened
get
is what has happened is that the army chief Wakar, he has sorted those differences by knocking off these people who were trying to make noise the other way around. If you must have heard the news few days back, about I think 2 weeks back, when all this incident started taking place, he purged a lot of army officers. He purged a lot of army officers, thereby making his position secure and making the overall situation under control, getting the situation under control. But
because
where,
Bangladesh one thing, the history is normally it is not the top leadership which goes into the coup. It is at middle level or
yeah,
say
yeah,
lower end of the higher. Say like Khalid Musharraf was a brigadier, Khader and
correct.
all were bloody lieutenant colonels. Then they went into
Yeah,
the coup. Yeah.
absolutely. So the volatility is more in the junior leadership in any defense forces. If you really look at it, a senior officer normally is more balanced, more mature. He looks at things a little differently, right? So what I'm trying to say is that uh, once this army got the internal things right, the situation has again started coming under control. But where chief of the Bangladesh army has faltered, and is faltered big time, and this will create problems for Bangladesh in the near future. And that faltering which he did was he invited the Jamaati Islami leader after immediately after Sheikh Hasina had fled for an all-party meet. The second mistake which he made was that in the all-party meet, chalo, at that point in time, the situation was very volatile and things were not under control, but none from Awami League were called.
He has
So
called Hifazat Islam's member is a member of the interim government,
whereas
which is
whereas Jamaat,
highly
it is illegal because Jamaat Islam is not even a political party recognized by the Bangladesh constitution.
constitution.
Whether it was BNP government or whether it was Awami League government, they all hobnobbed with them. That is a different issue. Even Awami League, do you know the maximum number of madrasas have come during Awami League's time
Oh,
because
yes,
they were
yes.
underhand, they were hobnobbing with Jamaat Islami. But it was not an open invite like come join the government, come be part of a political process. No, that was not there. So therefore, what I mean to say is that the military influence, while it was able to initially control the situation, लेकिन बाद में जो उन्होंने actions लिए हैं जैसे calling the Jamaat Islam, making them part of the government, I think that they are going to pay for it. They will pay for it by human lives, which they are not realizing it now. Because let me tell you, the major mistake in Bangladesh is the country is divided into two: Awami League and BNP. As of now, Awami League people are lying low because of the anger which is there in the society, created by either some external forces, internal forces, external and internal forces combining with each other. That's a separate topic, and that was my last point, that why this
But that's
hastening.
interesting. Let me just give an input on this. Today, I
Yeah.
was reading somewhere Shakibul Hassan, who has been charged, like Sheikh Hasina's 45 charges, he has also been charged for murder and all. The entire Bangladesh team has, from Liton Das and for Shakibul Hassan, they have said, no, we are with them. So that's a very positive development there.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that solutions come out of churning only. But what I'm trying to say is that if this government also goes like the other governments in the past, that Awami League is Bangladesh or BNP is Bangladesh and Bangladesh is BNP, if this kind of an approach is going to be there, I think they will suffer. They will suffer in the future. That's for sure. The next issue is about the India factor. Now, India factor, why I'm mentioning about India factor is that over a period of time, this perception had gone around that India is backing the current
Sheikh
government.
Hasina.
It is doing anything and everything possible to ensure that she remains in power. Well, there may be some amount of truth in this, because every nation wants a favorable government. There are reasons for it. Between the BNP and the Awami League was the only government which was non-communal, or leaning more towards non-communal behavior, whereas the other governments of the past in Bangladesh were highly communal in their approach. So, given our principles, given the way India recognizes itself, I think we went with the with a party which was at least looking at the entire society as a non-communal society, so that the rights of our Hindus, etc., who are there, are relatively secure. So we can't fully falter India for supporting the Awami League, and in any case, every nation looks at its national interest. You will not believe it today. Why I said is that we have enough leverages, is besides the geography, which means that we are surrounding Bangladesh from all the directions, and from the sea it is, of course, anybody's space which can be occupied by any country. The uh, the uh, the the Bangladeshis, do you know, are in debt of 26 billion. We are talking of Pakistan under debt of 30 billion with the Chinese. Bangladeshis are no bad, no better.
You
They are
better.
they are staring at a debt of 26 billion dollars. And you already quoted the figures of 300 million unemployed. You quoted the figures of their foreign reserves, which are exactly duplicate of Pakistan. Earlier, these people understand the situation, the seriousness of the situation, better it would be for Pakistan. So that's my opening, or that's my sum total observation of why what happened in Bangladesh. And the last factor I want to add without any discussion is, there has been a foreign hand. There has been a foreign hand. There's no doubt about it. Whether it was from the west or whether it was from the northern frontiers, that I don't have to go into it. I think it is now becoming more and more clear, with the way the government has been formed, the way things are panning out or opening out. The external hand was there, but who gave the breeding ground for this external hand were the internal power players of Bangladesh. They gave them that opportunity, come and exploit. And that's a lesson for us also, that we must not give opportunity to external players to play with India. I think the better, earlier we understand that unity and cohesion will ensure that nobody else can interfere into India, must be understood by all political parties. We should not be looking at a short term gain. Moment something happens, people start giving statements, just pandering to their short term requirements. I think the long term lesson for everyone in the region is that, partner, ensure internal cohesion, ensure internal security. If you give an opportunity to an external player, he will gladly accept it. And if they were not interfering then, they will interfere now in Bangladesh. because now the situation is even more ripe for them to interfere and get their interest met. And somewhere we also seem to have faltered in our assessment of the situation. I'm talking India factor, since I was discussing
Yes.
India factor. The things about San Martin Islands, demand of a base there, crafting of a third country out of Myanmar, Bangladesh, and some portions thereof. These were some of the indicators which we should have taken seriously. That is where I think our intelligence also altered a little. We should have given a heads up for the people, I mean, the government of that day, to actually take corrective action well before the situation became totally out of their control. So that was, sir, my overall assessment
I,
of
I
why.
have I have two questions on this. One,
Indeed.
you made a reference in passing about the Indian media or something.
Yes.
Uh,
The
Indian media has not covered itself in glory to say ameliorate the situation. They have created a
further
jingoism
bifurcation.
which was avoidable. So
Yes.
one is that I would like your comment, and second is what you said in the end, that time and again we fail to. Yes, we have improved from 75 when we could not extricate Sheikh Mujib from there, and
Correct.
we managed to extricate Sheikh Hasina. But the fact of the matter is that we could not say kind of assess the gravity of the situation which was developing, because after all, a student movement which is benign movement which started in June and developed in about say 2 months time, to the extent that it is resulted to change in regime. But indicators had been coming from the January itself. So
Yep.
what Indian say planners in security establishment had been looking at it, and what where we have been going wrong are something which we need to really look within, because time and again we have been failing in this issue. We are My sense is that indicators are there now. When the inquiry is done, they'll say, IB will say, अच्छा हमने तो ये बता दिया था, राव बोलेगी ये हमने बता दिया था. लेकिन भाई साहब, बताने से काम नहीं चलता, उस पर एक्शन भी तो किसी ने लेना चाहिए था. वो कितना
Absolutely.
एक्शन हुआ, that will be a
Sir,
very major issue.
why go far? Why go to IB? Why go to RAW? Your own High Commission in Bangladesh.
Yes.
Imagine you are in the middle of a revolution or protests which are taking place. I would rate it as a revolution. I mean, although the Bangladeshis are calling it as a color revolution, I won't take it at that level. But definitely, it was a mass movement of students, and mind you, it's very difficult to control students because students are young. Students have no kind of back home somebody to love. They are basically driven by ideology. They are driven by motivation of doing things the right way, and therefore it becomes difficult to control these people in such a situation. I think
Unemployment.
unemployment, Bangladesh High Commission of India should have been feeding very very early indicators for the government of India. So therefore I fully agree with you that yes, it has been a major setback for India. One, as far as our media is concerned, absolutely. You see, unfortunately, in our media, a balanced projection is always missing. We take up a issue and just blow it to a level that other issues get drowned. I think when we give a balanced perspective and then highlight that yes, the minorities have to be protected. Let's mobilize international support for that. But at the same time, also mobilize support for all the wrong things which the others are doing. So I think from both sides, we in the media failed to grasp the reality of the situation and project the right things.
Now, one small thing which I would like you to comment on. If you notice, Muhammad Yunus, he
Yes.
has been brought back. He is he is quite inclined towards West, and in West also, in US also, I think to the Democratic Party, because both his awards, that presidential award as well congressional award when Obama
Yeah,
was president, Democrat,
yeah,
he contributed to Clinton Foundation, for which he was charged for being, say, money laundering, say, 130
yes,
million. And Hillary
correct.
Clinton was so
He
that
has
is something.
he has a woke
And
leaning, sir. There is
and even 2006 when he got Nobel Prize, the same kind of a thing was there. So what I'm
yeah,
saying is that this is where you can see that in the coming election, in case if Democrats win election in US, how is it going to impact a situation in Bangladesh? And one is this question. Second is that Saint Martin, even China was eyeing. There's no doubt
yeah,
in my mind that
yeah.
but now, will the current situation in Bangladesh impact our Northeast? These are the two questions. And what is the China's role would be? Because China also was denied the Teesta project and all those things, although they have given a
Absolutely.
lot of BRI projects and all those things, but Teesta projects were denied,
Yeah,
which
yes.
pissed them off or something. So these are the areas which
So,
you may like to
so, sir,
just like.
As far as China was concerned, it was pissed off with Sheikh Hasina. There is no doubt about it. And that you saw when she visited there, some very
Xi Jinping
perfunctory.
refused to meet him.
Yeah, very. I believe he met her with a very perfunctory kind of a meeting. It didn't last much. Hello, and that about that level. It didn't come out in the media, and that's why she preponed her visit. Although she gave the reason that her sister was not well. So her sister or daughter, I don't know. I think and the daughter was not well, so she came. She had to prepone the visit. That was the reason given by her. Uh, More importantly, China, despite or without all these orchestrations, has the leverage of 26 billion, which is their debt trap doctrine. Now people are calling it as a debt trap doctrine. And
Doctrine, BRI.
Bangladesh, so therefore, as far as China is concerned, I have no doubts that China will interfere, will demand its pound of flesh from Bangladesh. If Bangladesh has to survive, they will have to lean on to China, because anything coming from the US, etc., will come with a lot of conditions, and those conditions will make life of Bangladeshi people very difficult. So willy nilly, there will be a huge now interference from China, which means that for our northeast, there will be another conduit available to them to feed into the northeastern internal security situation via Bangladesh, via Myanmar. It was already there. Now it will be via Bangladesh as well. It will become a seamless front as far as as far as China is concerned. Regards our rebel groups which are operating in the northeastern region. So we got to be
And also,
prepared now. We got to be
and
prepared
also
now, sir.
that maritime situation where his submarines, Cox's Bazar
Absolutely.
submarine,
As far as the marine thing is concerned, that avenue is open to them. The only thing which is possibly a plus for India is that we have a large presence in the Andaman Nicobar Island, and it extends quite up to this particular part of the region. So therefore, we will
six.
have yeah, we will have eye on this particular region. But the threat is there. Of course, you're right that it will become more seamless now. But the region which, in my view, sir, I mean, take it from me, nobody must have thought about it, but since we were discussing it, it just came to my mind that we need to be now careful of Tripura. Sir.
Careful of?
Tripura.
Okay, okay. Right, right.
I think there'll be a front change now, sir, by the Chinese. If the Chinese want us to be troubled, it may come in Tripura. Be rest assured. Sir. This is just a guess which I'm making, but the way things are happening, the way things are occurring on the border with Bangladesh, it's a ripe moment for, and with the Jamaati Islam now getting into the government, interference
And
into Tripura,
demography is changing in Tripura also. A lot of demography is changing.
and remember the olden times when Tripura was under some sort of insurgency, it just needs a revival. So therefore, our security forces have to be now on super guard as far as Tripura is concerned. It's the most vulnerable thing as far as this region is concerned. So that's my take on the Northeast. I would give
And what
some
about
quick.
Manipur? What about Manipur?
Sir, Manipur as such, he is able to interfere. So Bangladesh becomes more of a. I mean, really speaking, Myanmar is more important as far as Manipur is concerned.
Yes.
Mizoram, yes. But in Mizoram, you will realize that the state government of Mizoram has a better control over the internal cohesion of that particular area. So, in my view, it may serve as a rest and recoup for the militants. But
Mhm.
Mizoram itself may not see any major internal security problems. It might help the other regions to create problems there. I mean, the others may use Mizoram as a base to interfere into Manipur or interfere into Tripura or interfere into Assam, etc. So that could be the role, in my view. That's my total logical military assessment, which I'm trying to make. Siliguri corridor is the next area which we need to be careful of with this Bangladesh thing. Jamaat-e Islam has a very strong presence, and with the Nepal border also being porous and people coming at will in the Siliguri corridor, and the Chinese having so much of leverage over Nepal as well as Bangladesh and Bhutan, I think Siliguri corridor and Tripura.
And
These are the
Kishanganj's
areas.
population change has already taken place. Demography
Sir,
has already changed.
80% reversal ho gaya. So what I'm trying to say is, sir, these are the areas which we need to be careful. I spoke about it a few days back in a seminar, and I said that let's be careful of this area. I think we need to be very, very conscious of the new development which has taken place. Some improvements which India must push for, sir. And this is coming again from people who are concerned about Bangladesh. They say that Bangladesh elections constitution is very poor because or very fragile because it has a single single assembly system. It doesn't have a Rajya Sabha equivalent in Bangladesh. What happens, sir, with a bicameral parliamentary system? There is a check and balance on
Yes.
governance. That check and governance is missing. I think India, I should my salute to the forefathers of the constitution writers of India who thought through this entire process. They said that the Lok Sabha will throw up people who are of shady character, politically criminal oriented. So the bicameral, the upper house, definitely can have people with a better sense, better educated, well educated, looking at the country as a whole and not party specific. I think that has kept India in a very, very steady course. And Rajya Sabha has played important role in the past also, whether it is any budget, whether it is any other constitutional amendment bill, etc. I think that is missing in Bangladesh, and there's a demand now coming for that. They also
But
want that elections. We should push for elections in Bangladesh earliest. Unless you have elections, situation in Bangladesh cannot be stable, and it will be difficult for us to engage. With whom should we engage? As of now,
there are some state voices are emerging from the student side only. 3 to 6 years, they are saying.
no. That's
Three to
that's where they will go wrong. That is where they will go wrong. Interim, first of all, sir, interim government is illegal,
illegal. Yes, there's no provision in their constitution.
so they don't have the decree to rule.
Yes.
The chief of the army staff said that earliest possible time frame they will conduct elections. So the reforms, if they want to do any, should not be related to the country's functioning. The reform should be related to elections. Carry out the reforms to conduct a smooth and fair elections, conduct the elections, and leave the job of reforming the country's governance system to the new government, which would have the mandate of the people to engage with the other nations. Secondly, Awami League should not be put out of the election whenever it is conducted. It should be invited to be
Be
part
part
of the
of the.
election. Otherwise, you're looking at another fragmented half Bangladesh to be dealt with.
And
So,
what about US interest? Do you see that US will try to influence things in this, because they also have got their there's a void in their strategic space in
sir, as of
say
uh,
Bay of Bengal and Andaman Sea.
Sir, as of now, US is on a low lying spree, basically because of the fact that there is an election going on, electioneering going on in the US. Biden is a lame duck president. He cannot take any major decisions. Kamala Harris is fighting for her presidency. So, as a vice president, she is not that active as of now, and so therefore there is a wait and watch as far as America is concerned. But America will engage in this because it has concerns with China. And that is why you find that Jack Sullivan went to China very recently. Basically, what he wants is that the Chinese should not do any action which will force now America to respond in a violent manner. And therefore, they want this 3 months or 4 months to cross over till the elections are over and a new government is formed. So in my view, US will be for a short while on an, it would not be very openly open about its policy as far as this particular region is concerned. It will keep a watch, but it will also try to manage China till the time the elections are over. But once the elections are over, definitely, Mohammed Yunus is a prodigy of the US. But we should work with the US to ensure that elections are held at the earliest. Sir, if you remember, despite Prime Minister Modi going to Ukraine and earning a little bit of bad name when internally from our country, inside our country, today he has spoken to the President of America and President Putin. It is something is brewing up, sir.
We
Something
must
big,
engage. We must
something big,
engage.
and something big is brewing up, sir.
Yes, yes.
One of the other factor where we need to now be treading carefully is that in Bangladesh there is a sentiment that the Hamas factor has not been handled well by the international community. So that anger is also somewhere reflecting on the Indian. So I think we need to be careful now the way we are treading in future to ensure that our neighborhood doesn't inflame. Because our if our neighborhood is burning, sir, लपटे तो आपके घर पे भी आएंगी.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल हीट तो आएगी, इसमें कोई शक ही नहीं है, कोई शक नहीं है.
और जब
And
लपटे
there are enough people in this country who are trying to say transpose that template of Bangladesh on India. I mean, stupid
that's
of
what I'm
them,
saying.
but
That is very stupid. That is, I mean, you are trying to now invite problems rather than showing cohesion at this point in time. You are trying to invite problems out here, sir. And last point is, sir, which will go a long way, which will go a long way, is Mujibur Rahman's legacy must be made national and not Awami League. For that, if we have to indulge in some kind of a information operations, we should do it. Because unless you have a father figure of a country which looks across the spectrum of that society, that nation is bound to doom. It will split into multiple pieces. So
in
therefore,
fact, somebody had mentioned also this kind of a thing, that one of the leaders of those student leader, he says ki, not that we wanted to destroy Mujib's statue, but he was identified with Awami, and that's how he destroyed it.
that is why I'm
So
saying.
which
So
broken.
Mujib
Yes,
has
you are
to
right.
be projected as a leader of Bangladesh and not a leader of Awami League. The day I think this feeling comes into Bangladesh, half the problems of Bangladesh will be resolved. So with that, I think, sir, we
Let's
have covered the
uh,
entire canvas
let's
of
take few questions. Not
right.
I think JP has said, हमारे पास वर्ल्ड का लार्जेस्ट न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल है of explaining things in English terminologies, and that give us self pleasure, and that we have taken action. Our action is analysis and talk in implementation. And then we say in Queen's English, it is our strategic patience. Now it's a comment. I think it deserves no answer or something. I
Well,
don't
sir,
think it is.
you see, sir, such issues are thrown up by everyone. We all know that South Asia is the most nuclearized region in the world with Pakistan, China, and all having this weapon. We need to be realistic as to what can be done by nuclearization. Nuclear weapons are for deterrence. Period. That's it. If it was for anything else, by now Putin would have finished Ukraine out of the map of the world. So,
Yes, yes.
so nuclear weapons are meant as deterrence. They give you that stick, that heft to push your point, but up to a particular level. And if you are
That's why
giving them,
NATO is not getting into war.
yes, yes, and if you are so keen to use it, display the use, then be seen to be believed that you will use it. Putin
No,
has that. So I think nuclear aspect we will leave out of the debate. It has a limited value in such situations. India has not
uh,
been directly affected. India has not been directly affected in this particular incident, other than indirect impacts which are going to take place on India.
Sudhakar ji has raised a question. He says, Sir, it is a case of influence operations. What should India have done to prevent the outbreak of violent protest? Are there any lessons for India as takeaways? I think we have discussed this issue.
We discussed this
Yeah.
issue, Sudhakar. I think we need to be proactive in our intelligence. I think by now we have learnt enough lessons from our past incidents. Like, we ourselves had so many protests which happened. We were able to deal with them, not to that satisfaction, but yes, we were able to deal with it. Whether you take the farmers' protest or CAA, NRC, Dalit movement, and now you find people trying to create a similar kind of a euphoria within the country to start another revolution or another set of protests. We need to be fully conversant with what is happening or what is likely to happen and take preemptive action, even if it means that going half the way. I think UPS was some action of that sorts, where certain amount of pacification of the society takes place. So India possibly has learnt its lessons. Hopefully, we will negotiate through this carefully.
My this chat is not moving. If yours is moving, can you say some more questions?
Okay, JB has General Sir, how can there be checks and balances in a country where Islamist radicalism is spread throughout on ground? Unicameral or bicameral, Bangladesh like nations are run by street Islamists. Look, this is JBJP. I understand from where you are coming as far as this particular comment is concerned. But unless you work towards it, you will not be able to achieve it. Just because there are some radical elements in a country doesn't mean that reforms cannot take place. Reasons reasons can be understood by people. A large majority of Bangladesh uh, people do understand what is good for them. We have to engage with them at the right places and with the right way. YouTube is not the way to engage with them, right? Way to engage with them is through other channels, which I'm sure the government of India is doing. They are taking necessary action.
ट्रैक टू चलता रहता वो तो चलता and a
Like
lot of things
like
should remain shrouded in mystery. They should not be.
like this suggestion which we are talking of, unicameral, bicameral. Somebody might listen and then might say, okay, yeah, it's a good idea. Even if the students pick up this, I think they will start agitating for this. Have a bicameral, because then the students will get a better chance to represent in that country. And the power of students, they stop the Ansar movement from taking place. I think let's be positive on that issue. हमारे पास वर्ल्ड ये हो गया.
ये जो है एक किसी का है कि यस यस वी कैन, बट बातचीत से एक्शन एक्शन क्या लिया है? Good in analysis, talk, but we are missing in action, both in Maldives and Bangladesh. No, we are not missing. We are not at all
Sorry,
missing. Maldives, we have been able to get him back. So saying that it is not,
my
I
my
don't
thing is
agree with this.
my thing is not moving also, so I'm not able to see which all questions
अच्छा, ये
are there. Bhatia, if you can move the questions up. Okay, I think Bhatia
Siddharth
is
said,
able to move it.
when will stop being ostriches? Siddharth said, asking when we'll address this as a religious war and the fire has come closer, political correctness is not the answer.
Uh, while Mr. Siddharth, I appreciate your concern that yes, it seems to be a kind of a overtone of religion seems to be there. But at the same time, you must understand that Bangladesh still has some amount of functioning democracy. It may not be the best of democracies.
Best
So there
democracy.
is a scope. There is a scope for radical elements to be thrown out of this particular discourse. Yes, Jamaat Islam has got into the government, but it's an interim government. Remember, and when things go to elections, you will find the radicals always losing. Tell me
Even in
once
Pakistan, they never won.
they
They
never
were
win.
Jamaat
Even
Islami takes part in election,
e-
they never win.
even Muslim League, which was created actually in India by Maududi, it was never able to win when Pakistan became a separate country. I mean, when they
Separate
got
country.
the demand for a Pakistan as a country. So what I'm trying to say is that there is there is a latent strength or potential in democracies to throw away such elements. I hope it will be done. But if something is not done, then who stops India from using the stick here? We have a strong stick, but should we use it for everything? No. Kautilya had said that while an arrow shot at a man may kill or may not kill him, but a word designed with intrigue can kill a person in the womb.
Yes.
That
And
is the power. That is the power of information. हमारे शास्त्र हमको ये बताते हैं. And he later on went to say, I'm quoting Chanakya now. Today only I had conducted a media management capsule, so that's why I remember this particular quote. He went on to say that if I, as a country, can win without going to war through intrigue, deception, I would rather not go to war. I would rather apply intrigue, deception, deceit, including
but
money.
this is not even Sun Tzu also says the same thing, that
Absolutely.
winning a war without firing a shot is the
Correct.
and to my mind, there are extreme positions, there are possibilities. You have to work. After all, Bangladesh remains your neighbor. You can't have a neighbor who is totally, you condemn him to the situation where
Correct.
you create a poison for yourself.
No, see, if we are going to get hit, let me tell you, let me tell you, war is not off the table. It's very much on the table. But there should be situation enough for you to exercise this option. Even Clausewitz says, war is a politics by other means.
Other means.
So
So
let's
war
play.
is,
Let's
ah,
let the politics play out. It doesn't mean that I don't keep my powder dry. I'll keep my gunpowder dry to be
right,
used when I am required to use
when
it.
necessary.
And
And
this is
people
coming
should
out
know that
from
I can use it.
yeah,
People
and this
should
is
know
coming
that.
out from a general who was part of this army. And I know the people whom we have groomed and brought them up. They will keep the powder dry to sort out if there is somebody trying to take any action against our country. Yes, we have our own considerations. We have our own shortcomings, which we are trying to overcome over a period of time. Everything is done time in a time bound manner. You must realize 21 crore versus 3.85 crore. So 21 trillion versus 3.85 trillion. Don't be don't get absolutely carried away by what some channels talk about. भाई 21 ट्रिलियन और 4.25 ट्रिलियन में अंतर होता है.
4.4 ट्रिलियन भी जो बेचारे वो तो और घट गए उनका उनका तो घटा जा रहा है श्रिंक
See,
हो रही है इकोनॉमी श्रिंक
so
हो रही है इकोनॉमी
what I'm trying to say is that we have to play with the best weapon. What is the best weapon for India? At this time, the best weapon for India is gray zone, information, media, diplomacy.
that
economic.
And after all, you look at if you see the case study of say Afghanistan, Maldives, even to an extent Nepal, and substantially Sri Lanka, it is the economic support to these countries which has brought them back from that. What is that? You have used the word that for BRI के लिए क्या बोला था कि debt diplomacy or something,
Debt
debt
trap
doctrine.
doctrine.
So
Debt trap
we
doctrine.
have defeated that doctrine. That
Yes.
doctrine has been defeated by our support to these four
And
countries.
and look at Pakistan, what it did in our country, in the Jammu region. What are they facing now? Courtesy Afghanistan and Balochistan. It doesn't come from thin air, यार. हवा से नहीं बनती ये सब चीजें. हवा से नहीं हो जाता ये सब चीज. अगर 102 लोग एक झटके में एक दिन में मरे हैं, तो ऐसे नहीं हो जाता. The best weapons for us is not fighting wars. I think the situation, the guys, the way they work, they will land themselves into a problem. Yeah, Rakesh
Yes.
Bhatia was trying to.
But in South Asia, conspiracy theories are often used to deflect public pressure, as seen with Imran and Hasina blaming US. They attributed political challenges to external forces. Have we in India come out of this?
Look, this is also a theory which you have projected, Bhatia, that possibly we take the advantage of an action which may have taken place, in Pakistan, and blame it, or attribute it to a particular action probably originated from India. You and me are not competent authority to say whether India has any role in it or not. I think it is best said that Pakistan is reaping what it has it is reaping what it has planted, right? It was dealing with terrorists as an instrument of state policy, and now it is suffering because of that. So if they are
That's
trying to interfere in
what Hillary Clinton has said. You rear snakes in your rear of the
backyard,
house, they'll backyard, they will bite you.
we,
This is a
don't.
good question Akhlendra has asked. He says
Sir.
that Sheikh Hasina and India were to from here because Sheikh Hasina's presence in India will not help India to improve relations with Bangladesh. Probably that is what he means.
This is a problem which India has to tackle with. I did not want to cover it deliberately. See, India and Bangladesh have an extradition treaty thanks to the Awami League government, where we decided to have this treaty because essentially we wanted radical elements from Bangladesh to be extradited in case if they had crossed over, etc. But now the situation has turned the other way around. As per the current government, she has been charged with 45 charges, etc., etc. And if they ask for an extradition of Sheikh Hasina, we will be in a corner. But like I said, डंडा बोलता है. Okay, so if worst comes to worst, and if we are forced, and if Sheikh Hasina in the interim doesn't get any other place to go, I think India will use its unwritten leverages to ensure that she is kept in the country.
No,
What
no.
are these leverages?
The
Acha,
case in point is
incident-
Neerav Modi and Mehul Choksi.
yes,
You have not been able to get them back. So she can go to Indian Supreme Court and give my life is
whatever.
threatened or something.
Yeah, there are number of ways, legal ways, etc. But mind you, 3 days after the protest, our economic trade had started with Bangladesh, restarted. Why? Just what Jan Chaturvedi highlighted, that Bangladesh is dependent 25% for exports with India. Largest trade partner is India. So Bangladesh willy-nilly will have to listen to us. They will not be able to get away from it. Whatever they may say openly, that is for their public consumption. If Yunus is saying something, it will be for public consumption of Bangladesh. On ground, what is going to happen? That will be decided based on the real politic. And what is the real politic? Economic. Do you know that if a person falls sick in Bangladesh, where does he land? He takes the first flight out of Dhaka and lands at Kolkata.
Kolkata.
And in Kolkata, he is taken to a hospital of India. And this is true for all their VIPs. Because by
In
the
fact,
time they reach China,
what you
by
are
the
saying, let me corroborate. The same Sheikh Muhammad Yunus says, Professor Muhammad Yunus, before he came to Bangladesh to head the government, that we will never pardon India because India has supported a dictator. And his language has totally changed once he became the principal advisor. Now, this is Sams has asked a question. The people of Bangladesh want Indian politicians to engage with the people of Bangladesh and not with the dictator. Operation and over
who's
operation
the
and Sams.
the
This is the
people
people of
people
Bangladesh
of
want Indian.
Bangladesh
This is
want
the
Indian
last
politics,
question we will have.
people of Bangladesh, and not with the dictator. Operation and overpower to keep dictator is not a good way doing it. Absolutely, Sam, I fully agree with you. It's the people to people engagement that will bring strength to this particular, bring solution to this particular problem, and that is what we are
Afghanistan is
doing.
a live example of that. Afghanistan
Yeah,
is a live example of that.
and that is what we are doing. Incidentally, don't forget that the Indian government is sitting on its haunches and doing nothing. Sorry, there is an intense people to people engagement going on. So whatever I am speaking to people across, whomsoever I can speak to. We have numbers, etc. Some of them are our friends here and there. We do some courses, foreign countries. So we try to get a sense of what is happening. Okay, so this is all through that kind of a dialogue. There are informal dialogues which are taking place. There are formal dialogues which are taking place. Be rest assured, India will deal with the situation in a brilliant manner. Like Maldives is coming online, I think Bangladesh will also start coming online. 26 billion is no mean debt, my friend, and only by one country. They are really going to be in the soup. And earlier they realized that the only friend they have in this region who can give them unconditional support is India. They will quickly come to terms
To
with us.
people is the right answer because
and and,
Afghanistan
and,
shows that.
and this
Afghanistan,
reflects
we
in the
don't have.
and this reflects in the trade. Yeah? Third day after the protests, trade had stopped. Third day after the protest, the trade has recommenced. Yeah. It's like what we have. Whatever we may try, we have to do trade with China. They are our largest partner. So Bangladesh also has to do a similar thing. Okay.
There is someone, Durga Bhai, he has
Hmm.
written
Bangladesh very
Stride Defense
careful.
Dialogues. Sorry if most of the people support terrorists of Bangladesh, then sorry, I am from Bangladesh. Then sorry. No, terrorists are not from Bangladesh. Who said that? We never said that. Dunga
I
Bhai.
think I think Durga Bhai, you have, I think, misunderstood what we tried to say. We just said that we do not believe that the entire Bangladesh is radical. I think the exact words which we used was this: they are not radical. There are Bangladesh people are being engaged accordingly. So I think that should put you to rest, put your apprehensions to rest, Dunga. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We would appreciate that you join us in future as well.
uh, all Dushyant is left. It's a very thought provoking discussion. People to he says people to people. What people? People of Bangladesh to people of India. That is what
That's what.
people of Bangladesh. Any a commoner from Bangladesh. That is what we meant. It's not government to government. It is people to people, and we have
Yeah.
always been standing by people
Maintain
from
this.
Bangladesh.
We've always maintained this. We've always
Maintain
maintained
this.
this.
So all it is, Dushyant, all it is left for me to say thanks because some of the points which you have raised is a very, very thoughtful. All the students of history and diplomacy should take note of what General Dushyant has said, that if you are born out of war and violence, then you continue to indulge in that. So therefore, this cycle somewhere should change. This is what he meant. This JEI, the Jamaat-e-Islami, yes, it's a threat. Bangladesh army has gone wrong. They must do correctly. Uh, Next point, which he very rightly mentioned, is media was not balanced in reporting. That needs to be corrected. Indian media needs to take note. There should not remain TRP driven, and raise jingoism to that extent that it becomes difficult to control. Radical element got centrality right from beginning, and this is something which Bangladesh has to think about it, that radicalism has no place in growth of a country. Then best point which he has mentioned, General Dushyant, is about this, that country is bigger than party. Bangladeshis need to realize there is not BNP or it is Awami League, it is country, it's Bangladesh which is. So it's a lesson for people of Bangladesh. Corruption is a lesson for us also, that corruption needs to be tackled and should be nipped in the bud. And there should be, nobody should say that's a political interference, something. If you have committed a mistake, you need to pay for it. Good thing is army is not doing what they are doing, and we need to be on guard, and our own system of assessment should improve. Thank you, Dushyant. It's a great interacting with you. Keep coming more often on your own channel. It was a
Thank you,
great
sir.
thing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Jai Hind to all
Jai.
our listeners.
Bye. I'm sorry for all those. Please subscribe and channel, share with people and like it, because so that we can come out with a more such information. All those whose answers could not be, as questions could not be answered, we will go through them and we will try to engage with you one to one. Thanks, Etan.